Hello everyone, my name is Emmanuel Canto and now we're going to talk about the cognitive approach that is very interconnected with my other topic, the cognitive code. So this is a very important and interesting topic. Let's begin. But first I want you to know that the outline of this conversation it will be like this. It will be like this. First we have a cognitive approach, we're going to talk about it and then we're going to talk about the mental processes, the schema theory, the information processing, and of course the problem solving. But last and not least, we're going to talk about the metacognition. That's right. So what can we say about the cognitive approach? Well, first we have to understand that it exists a difference between the cognitive approach and code. Okay, what is that difference that exists between these two approaches? Well, in the first one, in the cognitive code, we have that it focuses on mental processes, but in language learning. And in the other hand, we have the cognitive approach. This approach emphasizes mental processes, but in understanding the human behavior. Okay, this focuses on the learning process, and this it focuses on the understanding of the human behavior. Okay, got it. Well, then we can say that unlike the behaviorist theories that emphasize imitation and of course repetition, this cognitive approach try to focuses on the internal mental processes involved on language acquisition. Okay, and so here's a breakdown of key aspects of this approach. First, we can talk about the mental processes. This approach considers language itself, learning language, as a complex mental activity. So it explores how we as learners understand, perceive, and produce this activity. Thus, how can we learn a language? Through cognitive processes such as attention, memory, and of course, problem solving, right? So what can we say about the schema theory? Well, this theory suggests that we can organize all the knowledge into mental frameworks called schemas, like we can say here in the presentation. And we construct schemas for vocabulary, for grammar rules, for structures, language structures, and linguistic syntax, and so on. Here we have an example that it talks about when learning new vocabulary, learners integrate it into existing schemas based on their understanding of related words and concepts. If we talk Spanish, then we are going to integrate that concept of English language with Spanish language. That's a mental process, like we were talking before. And then we have the information processing. We have that views uh, this approach views the learning language as information processing itself. So we can say that the learners receive input, for example, listening or reading, that are skills of language, of learning a language, and then process it through various cognitive stages, including attention, comprehension, storage in memory, and retrieval for use. So understanding how these processes work helps us as educators to design effective learning activities that optimize the information processing and the way that we are going to teach our children, sorry. We have the problem solving. What can we say about the problem solving? Well, like we can say here in the presentation, we have that language learning often involves overcoming obstacles that solving linguistic problems. So, sorry, I ran out of space. So, like we were talking about problem solving. So, by confronting this challenge, learners just can get better, their abilities, cognitive skills, and linguistic abilities at all. We have metacognition. This is an important part because metacognition talks about the awareness and understanding of one's own thought processes. Okay, that's the way we learn. We are able to understand the way we learn. So me, Emmanuel, if I know that I'm good for learning a language, my good way is talking, then I know that I need to talk with people to understand and to acquire the language. That's metacognition because I'm able to understand how do I learn. Okay, that's very important, and we as teachers can learn how to employ metacognitive strategies in our classes and how to evaluate our students to make them understand how they learn. Okay, and then we have how do we teach this focusing, how do we teach, focusing on this approach. So we have that it's important to understand that we need to encourage active participation and provide opportunities to practice. That's very important, like offer feedback and support. And the most important part is to create a positive and supportive learning environment. So in summary, like we can see here in the presentation, we have that this approach to language learning places an emphasis on the mental processes involved in acquiring and using a language, that it is acquisition itself. And that's the difference that we have between the cognitive code and the cognitive approach. Cognitive code focuses on mental processes, and cognitive approach focuses on understanding how these mental processes work for us to understand or to learn a language. Thank you. That's all. I hope you too enjoy.